Hello, friend. Welcome to Unity of Tustin's Conscious Conversation. My name is Reverend Blair Tabor, and tonight our guest is Greg Tamblyn, singer-songwriter. And I invited him because we live in a time where there's such a compressed sense of energy because of the pandemic that I thought it'd be great to talk about joy as a part of our spiritual unfolding, as a part of our spiritual growth. So we'll hear from him in a minute, but let's take this moment to tune in ourselves with a time of prayer. So I invite you to close your eyes. And dear living presence, we give thanks for this moment and the richness of our experience of your life and your love and your joy in this moment. We know that all your gifts are present at every time and every experience. And today we focus on joy as a gift that is a blessing to us and a blessing through us as we bring joy to the world. And we know that there are challenges, but we know that our sense of humor makes our experience lighter and brings more light to the experience. So we open ourselves to joy and see ourselves connected to your presence, to your life, to your love. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God. And in this moment of conscious connection, we also bless those who have asked for prayer through our church and through other organizations. We know that your presence is with each one, and we see them drawing on your wisdom and your love to bring forth a blessing in the midst of whatever circumstance they're facing. And we see the light, your light, shining in them and through them as they find new and creative ways to not just make it through, but to bring your blessing through all the experiences of life. And so we see each one connected, conscious, and unfolding new good. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Amen. Well, dear friends, so thanks so much for joining us and being a part of this. I've got, since we're talking about humor, I found this quote. This is from a book, Riches of the Heart. It says, "Laughter is a wonderful coping device. It helps us to successfully transverse dangerous currents along life's journey, as well as assisting us to fully enjoy the placid times of still waters. Humor is something I can get serious about. It's nothing less than an extravagant gift to be frequently used and shared." And this writer says, I believe it was Billy Graham who said that a keen sense of humor helps us to overlook the unbecoming, understand the unconventional, tolerate the unpleasant, overcome the unexpected, and outlast the unbearable. So that's what it says. The best part of that is you already received the gift of laughter. And then there's a PS here. It says, if you know you're going to look back on today and laugh, you might as well start laughing now. So that's the gift of laughter. And now it is our time of conscious meditation or conscious conversation. And this is my first time, and so I'm really excited to have a connection with Greg Tamblyn and to bring him to our conscious conversation to share some of his thoughts about humor and how it can work for us, and the idea that it's something that we can develop. It's a quality of our lives that we can develop. And he shares a couple songs as well. So here's my conscious conversation with Greg Tamblyn. Oh, by the way, if you want to connect with him, his website is gregtamblyn.com. So welcome, Greg Tamblyn, to Conscious Conversations, part of our Unity of Tustin ongoing exploration of different ways of looking at consciousness and different ways of looking at how we can be present to the presence and being with each other in a way that's a blessing. So, Greg, I'm so glad to have you with us. And I asked you in particular on my inaugural experience here with Conscious Conversation, because I feel that humor is such an essential part of dealing with life, and particularly dealing with these sort of compressed times we have with the COVID pandemic. And wanted to bring more joy into my life, and you always bring joy to my life, and wanting you to help others have that joy as well. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's mutual, Blair. I always enjoy seeing you so much.
So was when we think about when I think about spiritual growth, so many times we're so serious about our spiritual growth. But I found that humor and joy is a big part of that. What's your experience with that?
Yeah, it's hugely important, at least for me personally. But Charles, I'll just start with this. Charles Fillmore, one of my favorite Charles Fillmore quote is, "There will be more people in our churches when there is more laughter in them."
Ah, yeah, nice.
I just feel like that sums it up perfectly. It's not like we need to just make it a comedy fest, but we need to be able to take take things lightly. One of the things I talk about in one of my Sunday talks is the most helpful and healthiest attitude to have towards big issues, big questions, unanswerable questions. And for me, the thing that the mystics and the scientists have in common is a sense of wonder at the workings of the universe. And the ones that are the best of those, the ones we remember as our teachers and love, are the ones that also have a sense of humor, that
Right.
can take it lightly.
Yeah.
So, Albert Einstein said a lot of funny things.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And the mystics that, have a sense of humor, the ones I think we tend to remember. So I, that's kind of a starting point.
Yeah.
I
There's a
grew,
phrase that I always like. It says that the reason that angels can fly is that they take themselves lightly.
yeah,
And so
right.
it's that sense of humor is so important. So when I know you have songs where you use humor a lot to sort of make a point, is that something that you've sort of always done in your life, and how did you arrive at that as a technique for songwriting?
Yeah, I have. Growing up, I always wanted to be a singer and I always wanted to be a songwriter once I realized people wrote songs. But I was back in the 60s. I was always real attracted to the funny songs as much as the regular, as the Beatles or anybody else. I just really loved that humor in songs, whether it was Purple People Eater or you know, Ray Stevens or even the Beatles, Yellow Submarine and some of those. Um, so when I started writing songs, it was natural for me to try to, if I had a funny idea, to try to develop that. Yeah. Those weren't the only kinds of songs I wrote, but yeah, it was kind of what naturally came out of me. And I really want to say this to the people that are watching. My mother told me that I was the most serious little kid she'd ever seen. I was not a funny kid. I was not even a laughing kid. I was a serious little kid. But I was surrounded by people, or at least I noticed the people around me that were funny and that, or that were, had a good sense of humor. And it seemed like they were having more fun than I was. So I paid attention. And this is I'm coming back to your question about songs, but this is one of the things I try to teach in my workshop about humor, is that it's an attitude, and people don't think of it like that. It's an attitude that we can develop just like all the spiritual attitudes that we want in our life, like gratitude or compassion or forgiveness or kindness, um, mercy, positivity, all of these things that we go to church and we want more of in our life. We want to become more like this. Well, humor is one of those things. Focus follows attention.
Right.
So if we make a commitment to notice humor and to focus on it to some extent, and I have a lot of ways I teach to do this, then we find it showing up in our lives a lot more. And not only spiritually, but in every kind of situation.
Right.
And the whole point of spirituality is to make life better, to get through life, more happily, more successfully, more meaningfully, and humor just helps all of that.
Right.
So, yeah. So anyway, some of it comes out from me in songs.
Right. Yeah, and I've noticed too that when there's a moment of tension between people, that if somebody has a little way of using some disarming humor,
Yes.
even at their own expense, it just changes the energy.
Yes. Yeah, there's a comedian, remember Gary Shandling?
Yeah.
He died about 5 years ago, but he had a really great quote. He said, "Don't get mad, get funny."
Yeah, yeah,
And his writers, whenever they were in the writing room having an argument, he would walk in and he'd say, "Don't get mad, get funny," and he'd say something funny and they'd disarm the whole thing. And there's a famous story about the Russian and American generals that were in a room back in the 60s, the height of the nuclear tension. They were in a room trying to negotiate something. I don't know if it was only the generals, but it was a bunch of Russians, a bunch of Americans. They were trying to negotiate something, and it was just getting nowhere. And the tension was building after several hours. It was just worse than when they started. And one of the Russian generals said, "I think we should take a break and tell a joke. I'll start. What is the difference between communism and capitalism?" Well, in communism, man exploits man. In capitalism, the reverse is true. And they all laughed, and the tension was broken. And, they started over and evidently got somewhere. We didn't get the world blown up. Um, anyway, you're right. One of the things I did one day was one weekend was take a workshop with a guy. This was at Unity of Mesa. And there was a guy there that used to teach a lot named Bill Raines. And we had about 20 people in this workshop, and everybody had stuff they were working on, personal issues. And I can't remember what mine was, but he gave us all an instruction to spend 3 hours creating some sort of art form to deal with this issue. It could be anything. Well, I didn't want to write a song because that's what I normally do. So I just came up with this idea to have sock puppets, and I made it into a play. And when these sock puppets started talking to each other about this issue, it was hilarious.
yeah, I bet.
And the whole thing was completely what's the word I'm looking for? Poof, blown
Yeah,
up. Not a big deal anymore.
yeah.
De-escalate.
Because it gave you a different perspective
Yeah,
on what was going on and what your role in it was, I'm sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sock puppets. Okay, that's
Sock puppets. There you go. Clue number one: do sock puppets.
so along with my box of percussion instruments, I'll have a box of puppets to do workshops now.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great. So one of the things I know that you do is using humor to reframe an issue, which just sort of like you talked about. So is there another way that you've been able to do that or share how others can do that?
Well, uh, the sock puppets would be an example
Right.
of using humor to reframe an issue, and then the, I have songs that do that for me. So that would be the main way that I do it.
Uh-huh.
And I have songs that a couple of songs in particular that therapists use, play for their patients to reframe
Uh-huh.
issues. Funny songs.
Well, you want to do one for us now?
Yeah, yeah, sure. I've got this old nylon string guitar that I like to use for this computer performing because it's much softer and quieter than a steel string, but it also gets out of tune way faster.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I always have to check. So, so going back to what I said about my mom telling me I was a very serious little kid, and I was, um, and and I was a big worrier, and I found that I'm much better at that now. I can worry in much less time, get it over with more quickly. But this is a song about how we go through these emotional cycles. Anyway, it's called Writer's Block: The Long-Term Positive and Negative Effects of Worry. I was worried about not writing any songs. No words, no tunes, nothing for way too long. I was worried I'd never write again. Maybe there was no more ink in my pen, and I thought about that, and I began to feel ashamed. I was ashamed that I'd been worried about not writing. I'd been through droughts before and come out fighting. Seemed like my worry was out of control, and I was ashamed about it down to my soul. And then it hit me what I was doing, and I started feeling guilty. I was guilty that I could let myself feel shame over something so insignificant as this writing game. I thought I'd released that stuff long ago, and I felt guilty that I had such a long way to go. And then I realized what I was doing, and I got embarrassed. I was embarrassed that my shame could make me feel guilty. All these negative thought patterns, man, it was silly. If someone could see inside my head, they'd give me a drug and put me to bed. Yeah, I was embarrassed, and that made me mad. I was angry that I could be so immature. I was angry at me, down on myself for sure. And as my anger turned into resentment, I thought about what the long-term effects of that meant, and I realized what I was doing to my body, and I began to feel afraid. I was afraid of what I was doing to myself. All these negative emotions affecting my health. If body and mind are so interconnected, my shame, guilt, worry, and fear were making me infected, and I was afraid that I was becoming depressed. And as I began to sink into depression, the effect on my body and mind became an obsession. The outcome of this could not be in doubt, and that gave me something new to worry about. I knew that I might not be around for too long, so I wrote it all down and I had a new song. And when I thought about that, I was fine again.
I love it.
Pretty silly. Yeah. Pretty silly, but it's great joy in taking something restrictive and limiting and troublesome and bothersome and reframing it so that it's not such a big deal anymore.
Right.
You know, now it's more like it's like I now have control over the situation or how it affects me instead of it having control over me
Right.
because I've turned it inside out.
That's great. So you say that you do workshops on joy and humor and stuff like that. What are some of the things that you teach in that?
So the first thing is just what I said before about how humor is an attitude, and we energy follows focus. So we give ourselves permission to focus on finding humor every day, but really it's not so much finding it as noticing it because it's everywhere. We just need to pay attention. So we kind of shift our focus a little bit, train our brains to notice. It's not like we're going to turn into comedians necessarily. You know, we're just going to really appreciate the humor that's around us. So we notice it, and we have fun with it. So one of the stories I like to tell is when I was playing in bars and nightclubs. So we're going back about 30 years. I live in Kansas City. That's where I am, and I got hired to do a Holiday Inn circuit around Kansas for a year. Now, when I tell people I'm from Kansas, I've noticed I don't get a lot of oohs and ahs. You know, people don't seem to link up Kansas and exotic. But I like to tell people that Kansas is just as exotic as anywhere else if you know where to look. Because when I was driving around Kansas for a year playing at these Holiday Inns, I found stuff that was really cool. So for example, if you go halfway out Kansas in Cocker City, Kansas, little town just north of I-70, you can see with your own two eyes the world's second largest ball of string.
Second largest, huh?
Yeah, yeah. It's enough string to stretch from Cocker City to San Francisco or Key West. You go down south of there a little bit, and the one and only Barbed Wire Museum in La Crosse, Kansas. Over 2,000 kinds of barbed wire. You probably didn't know there were that many.
I
See?
did not know that.
Now, back east of there a little ways is in La, is it La Crosse? No, it's in Lucas, Kansas, I think. Is a sculpture of the Garden of Eden that takes up an entire acre and is made completely 100% out of cement. 2,273 bags of cement. It's the weirdest thing you've ever seen, but you can't see it anywhere else except
But
Kansas. And then my favorite, there's a whole bunch more, but my favorite place was just outside of Clinton. And it was this little store called Larry's Lawn Ornaments and Cheese Shop.
what's it called?
Larry's Lawn Ornaments and Cheese Shop. Now, you have to have a rare kind of genius to come up with two things that go together as well. That's lawn ornaments and cheese. Hey, that's a great little bird bath you picked out there. How about a nice sharp cheddar to go with it? So, one of the things that I find hilarious are things that don't go together, but you see them together. So, just out in California, for example, I was driving north of Sacramento. Um, this was a few years ago. I forget the name. It might have been Highway 99, maybe. Anyway, it was going north, and there was a little town that began with a G. I forget the name. Gilroy, maybe. But outside of town, there was this long, low building with two businesses in it. Three-quarters of the building was a mortuary, a funeral home. And the other little bit of the building was a coffee shop. Out in the middle of nowhere, a funeral home joined up with a coffee shop. And this cracked me up. I thought, well, think of the slogans: coffee to die for. Uh, our coffee can wake the dead. I mean, marketing possibilities were great. So stuff like that, stuff that doesn't go together, if you give yourself just permission to have fun with it, you'll start seeing stuff all over the place. And then what I tell people is to do is what I do, which is to collect it. So that everybody's got a cell phone now and you can take a photo, or if you have a funny thought or somebody says something funny that you want to remember, you can put it in your notes app and collect these things, and eventually you have retrained your brain because you're collecting them. You're rewarding your brain for noticing.
Right.
Every time you collect something, you've made a reward loop. And you've started to train your brain to notice the humor, whether it's on your computer, whether you're driving down the road, wherever it is, you're noticing it, and you've documented it, so your brain starts to get the idea. Okay, this is what we're doing now. We are
Yeah.
going to have fun every time we can.
Yeah. And by recording it or typing it or something, you're reinforcing it for yourself.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So when I'm teaching my workshop, I turn on the computer and I play people a little bit of my collection just so they can see what I'm talking about. So we can try that. I don't, can I share my screen with you? And
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Because you should be able to do that.
okay, so I'm going to click the share screen button. Share. Okay. Uh, Desktop.
There you go.
Okay. Now, can you see that?
We currently deliver to just this planet.
This is a flower delivery truck that I was behind on the interstate, and I just thought this is so clever. The Village Gardens, I would definitely call them for flowers.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a close up of it. Um, this is a church sign in a little town in called Brookfield, Missouri. It's in the Bible Belt. And I thought, wow, this is hilarious. If I lived in this little town of 5,000 people, I would check this church out because this pastor's got a twisted sense of humor.
Right.
And here's another one about 6 months later.
Never makes no angels in a dog park.
Huh, I mean, she's goofy, this
Yeah.
lady, Mandy Wiedemann. I'd like to meet her.
Yeah.
Here's a T-shirt I saw. Here's here's another one, pregnant lady.
Yeah. Pregnant lady. Wake me up when it's due to.
Very, very pregnant, you know. Here's a tavern in Chicago I saw.
Come sit, stay.
This is in Key West, a welcome mat or a not so welcome
Yeah.
mat.
Right.
Yeah. This is a T-shirt I saw in the luggage claim area. I love this kid. I just thought he was great. Oh, here's a restroom sign. Sign on a truck. Headstone. See this? This is a friend of mine with a T-shirt I like.
Yeah.
Another T-shirt I saw in Whole Foods.
And she's wearing it proudly, right?
Yeah, you got to have a good sense of humor to wear this T-shirt
Yeah.
and to let me photograph it.
Right.
Headlines, these are all over the place. Fun headlines. If you read the paper every day online, you see these almost once a day.
Right. Yeah. Because the whoever writes the headlines tries to be a little clever about it too. Anyways,
Exactly.
hot
This
beer,
was my,
lousy food, bad service. Welcome. Yeah.
this was my favorite restaurant in Istanbul. This guy had a little place, and he was hilarious. He was a funny guy, and he dragged me right in with this sign, and he turned out to be a blast to talk to.
Yeah.
Um, you see signs like this on the sidewalk all the time. This gal on the left was our guide in New Zealand, and the gal on the right is her wife.
Uh-huh.
I love that T-shirt. Oh, this kid I saw at the dog park. Here's two things that don't go together. We talked about that. I'm not going in here to eat. I want to know. It's another good T-shirt.
Fun stuff.
Yeah. I can't remember which country this was in.
Fried insects.
Yeah.
Did you try any?
No, I'm not going to eat insects until I have to. Now this is in the St. Louis airport. All the urinals in the St. Louis airport. Can you see my little
Yeah, I
arrow?
see a little bug there. Yeah, I've seen other ones like that too.
It's a decal, right? Why is it so guys will aim at it
Right. That's right.
so they won't splatter.
Right.
It's here's a this is good.
Remove child before washing. I love it.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean we could just do this for another couple
Right.
hours. I have so much stuff, but anyway, um, I'm
Well, this
so
is great, Greg. I appreciated you. At least I accomplished one of my purposes, which I got to laugh. So I hope that others have helped been lightened in their sense of being as well with you. How about one more song before we go?
sure. Um, This is a lot shorter. I thought we were doing this for 90 minutes.
Oh
This is,
no, no, it's
oh,
no, it's not that long.
okay, okay, good. Uh, all right, I'm going to do, this is not so much about reframing. It's just a, it's just a song that's topically relevant. It's funny song, but it takes a few left turns.
Okay.
So if people haven't heard it, um, by the way, there's versions of all these songs on my website if people want to go listen to them again for free.
So it's gregtamblyn.com, right?
It is gregtamblyn.com, exactly. So this is a song about marriage, and it's called Jesus Was a Bachelor. Have you heard this?
I've heard this. I love this one. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. The man I most admire spread love throughout his world. The man I most admire was not out chasing girls. He looked around, saw the deal, said, I can't do this. I'm gonna get my 12 best buds, go drink wine and fish. Jesus was a bachelor, and so was Buddha too. Could it be that they knew something more than me and you? Buddha cut the ties that bind and headed for nirvana. Women tried to marry Jesus, but he said, I don't wanna. Relationships take lots of time and compromise at best. Maybe all the saints knew they could never pass that test. Take Mother Teresa, chose to do good works instead. They say nuns all marry Jesus, but, well, he's dead. Jesus was a bachelor, and so was Buddha too. Could it be that they knew something more than me and you? Buddha chose enlightenment over married life. Jesus couldn't save mankind and satisfy a wife. So if all of your friends are saying I do, but you just won't, take comfort in the fact that even Jesus said I don't. If you want to set your sights on more ethereal worlds, don't let your lower chakras chase material boys and girls. Jesus was a bachelor, and so was Buddha too. Could it be that they knew something more than me and you? Buddha left his family for much less worldly pastures. Jesus was too busy getting ready for the rapture. Well, some folks now dispute this thought that Jesus was unwed. A rabbi single in those days, there is no way, they've said. Well, as for me, I think the way of partnering is best, 'cause I'd like to be enlightened and still be having. Jesus was a bachelor, well, maybe, maybe not. Maybe he was married and that church in Rome forgot. Some say Mary Magdalene was wife and apostle. I don't know what you think, but I say, hey, it's possible. But there's one more possibility we should not overlook. Maybe there's another way that Jesus was mistook. I know what I'm suggesting is not what some want to hear. But if it troubles you, then it's not love you feel, but fear. If Jesus was a bachelor, then maybe he was gay. That would be quite frightening for some Christians today. They'd like to ban gay marriage, but the Bible's been misconstrued. What kind of Christianity judges and excludes?
Thank you, Greg. What a delight. What a delight to share some time with you. And hope the viewers have felt some joy as well. So, any last words you want to say about humor and consciousness?
Well, I just want to reiterate that energy follows focus. So if you want more humor in your life, just make sure you wake up in the morning and say, "This is what we're going to do today. We're going to notice it," and then reward your brain. Um, yeah, I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I know we're out of time.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Greg. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you what in 2022 in September for the Posy Fest. We'll do it live, hopefully by then.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
yeah.
All right. Well,
All right,
great.
blessings, my friend.
Yes, you
We'll
too. It's
we'll see
really
you later.
me up.
Well, I hope you enjoyed my interview with Greg Tamblyn, and now it is our time for the offering. You can go to Unity of Tustin's website, unitytustin.org, and click there and donate. And of course, our church, like every church, is supported by the donations that come in. And if you have questions about a special donation, a gift of appreciated stocks or anything like that, you can always check in with the office and they can help you with that. Our offering blessing that I like to use, I'm going to use a little bit different one, is I give in love because I love to give. So say that with me. I give in love because I love to give. And of course, we know that Jesus said, as you give, so shall you receive. So if we give in love, then what we're going to receive is more of those blessings of love in our life. So let's say it again. I give in love because I love to give. Ready again? I give in love because I love to give. And thank you for being with us. And I hope that you'll join us next week, each Wednesday, 6 p.m. We're rotating through our spiritual ministry team and Mary Jean with different presenters and lots of different things. So thanks for joining us. And let's close with our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us wherever we are. God is, and all is well. Thank you, and God bless.
Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Everything I've ever done, everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost or won, everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to the present moment, here to a new beginning, here, and I'm seeing life so clearly now. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, into the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul is here. I go deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. Here I go, closer, closer, closer to my sacred source. Here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. Here I go, closer, closer, closer to my sacred source. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in into the deepest kind of love, into the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Get ready, my soul.